you're going to hear from a very unusual investigator, Vince Palamara, a graduate of Duquesne University, considered a leading civilian authority on the Secret Service. If anybody is an authority on it, well, he must be it, because it's very hard to get information out of the Secret Service to even admit that they were there. He is an authority on the Secret Service for the period from FDR to Reagan, and the Secret Service certainly didn't manage things very well and let Reagan get shot. His work has appeared in Investigator, Back Channels, Lobster, and Fourth Decade. He recently co-produced The Third Alternative, Survivor's Guilt, The Secret Service and the JFK Murder. We'll hear from him now, Mr. Palamara.
Okay, 10 minutes, I guess I'm going to cut to the chase a little bit. My study is basically pretty unique. It's interviewed close to 20 former members of the Secret Service, guarded Kennedy, in fact, guarded from FDR up to President Carter. One might have actually been around the Reagan days, but he was in the field office. And during the course, I'm going to take this off for a second. During the course of my research, I started out with a lot of the same beliefs and a lot of the evidence and a lot of the way things were told to us by Jim Bishop, William Manchester, the Warren Report, et cetera, that, Kennedy didn't want this done, he didn't want the bubble top, he didn't want anything on the back of the limousine, et cetera. And since my natural focus was on the Secret Service, that's always been my area of interest anyway, I delved into that. I believed a lot of those things at first, but then as I found out through interviewing these men and comparing things, primary sources, documents, films, et cetera, through the years, found out a lot of these things categorically are not true. JFK has been blamed for a lot of things that he supposedly did want done security-wise, which aren't true. I'm going to be showing a video in a second, but before I get to that, I'm just going to get to something that relates to earlier. Dr. Randy Robertson, had a presentation about basically, make one story short, the back of the head, JFK was gone, a big, pardon the pun here, bone of contention, with researchers. I know that was bad. But anyway, when I spoke to the driver of the follow-up car, Sam Kinney, reading my notes here, he revealed that having witnessed the assassination from the follow-up car, he was watching the back of President Kennedy's head anyway. He had to maintain a 5-foot distance. That was standard operating procedure. 5-foot distance between his car and the limousine. When the shooting happened, he saw it all happen. He also said there was no missed shot. And that's just what he said. All 3 shots hit their victims. He thinks that the second shot hit Connolly. More importantly, he saw the back of the head go off. Okay? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He didn't know what the controversy was about. He was wondering what everybody was making a big deal about. He said this to me 2 times. I spoke to him 3 times. The first time we didn't get into the medical evidence. Gets even more interesting. Him and George Hickey were on the C-130 transport plane going back to Washington with the 2 cars, and he found the back part of the head in the limousine hours before the official limousine inspection instigated that night by Assistant Special Agent in Charge Floyd Boring. He said, I don't know what else it could have been but the back of the head. He also said he had no brains left. His brain was blown out. There was gray matter all over the place. It was the right rear. He said that twice. Mine was a big piece. Half his head was gone. It resembled a flower pot or clay pot piece. And he put in a phone patch to Dr. Berkeley while on the C-130, before they even landed in Washington. The piece went to Berkeley, and whatever happened with Sam doesn't know, and I guess it's up to us to speculate if it was one of the later pieces they allegedly found in the limousine. But this was separate. He was there also when they did the official limousine inspection, so it's not a matter of memory merge. He's confused. It's definitely delineated. He'll remember it forever. It's one of those things. There's no question about it in his mind that he found on the C-130. So it's just a big thing to corroborate Dr. Randy Robertson's work there. I guess now maybe I'll wait for the video because due to time constraints.
Is that the piece that Jackie picked up and dropped in the backseat?
That's one. Yeah, Clint Hill, Gerald Bain in a report. This shows something here. See all the spectators on this side, right here? Okay, on Kennedy's side. Well, in Secret Service reports by John Reddy and others, they try to make it like, oh, there was no one on that side of the street. Hey, we didn't have to protect Kennedy. Boy, I guess those are all apparitions then. Who are these people? All it takes is one person to be assassinated anyway. Look at John Hinckley. I mean, this is ridiculous. Okay. Now here we go. We see JFK being hit, and also we can go into big contention about what is or is not happening. Well, Lloyd Kellerman, who was number 3 man, I spoke to Jerry Bain, the head of the White House detail. He wasn't there. Number 2 man wasn't there. They had a third stringer. And by the way, I just recently found out this was Lloyd Kellerman's first trip with the president. He's looking back, first trip on his own, I should say, clarify that. He's looking back at Kennedy, sees he's hit. He says in his Warren Commission testimony, no obstacle will stand in front of me. I will protect this man. Yet, he sees he's hit. Well, I get the time to tell Bill Greer, which he does now, to get out of line. And Bill Greer's looking back. Ooh, break down Secret Service procedure. Saw live out to the Warren Commission. I didn't see Kennedy. I saw Connolly. Uh-oh, Connolly's hit. Geez, I guess I'll have to improvise something there, too. But anyway, and then Kellerman did tell him to get out of line. We've been hit. Kellerman put his hand up to his mouth, the radio microphone, and little Greer here does a second turn on. Just make sure Kennedy, let's see if he's really hit now. And then pretty soon we'll see, unfortunately, the fatal shot make its mark. Oswald or no Oswald, conspiracy, no conspiracy. We'll talk about this for years, like in ancient Egypt. We'll all go through the conspiracy theories and everything else. But if these Secret Servicemen would have did their job, we wouldn't be talking about it. So maybe we'd be talking about it in the trial, like O.J. Simpson Part 2. We'd be there trying to find out the attempted assassination. Maybe it wouldn't have been such a big deal. But there's so much more to this, and like I said, I don't, time constraints in that. I might have,
Go ahead.
might have a little bit of a fast forward through this. One second. Mark, can you fast forward a little bit? This is like a little bit of a repeated segment. Well, that's okay, no problem. I can. Now, if I go into any further equivocation here, this is the Florida trip. This is the November 18th trip, by the way, right here. This is a little bit of a film clip. Well, make a long story short, does fire report send? Well, I spoke to the head of the White House detail, Mr. Boring himself, and he told me it's categorically untrue. Kennedy never, ever, once told them to not do anything security-wise. The only thing this man wants to do is do what he's doing now, wade into the crowds. It was a real quick, there's Floyd Boring right directly behind Kennedy there, Emory Roberts. This is the only thing Kennedy did that would deal with Secret Service's nerves. The only thing, he would wade into the crowds. He never told them not to have the bubble top on, whether it was bulletproof or not. We can go on and on for days and whether it meant anything or not. But Kennedy had nothing to do with the bubble top. Secret Service decision, Sam Kinney told me about it. It's in his report. He's the sole person to do it. Agents on the limousine, they lied about it in the reports. Think about that. They admitted to me on the phone. Floyd Boring, I spoke to him twice. Jerry Bain, I spoke to him 3 times in one session. Spoke to Sam Kinney several times. And Clint Hill would not reveal the name of the person in his report. Then he gets in front of our old inspector of the Warren Commission and had to reveal the name of who told him not to have agents in the back of the limousine. It was good old Floyd Boring. And it goes around in a circle because Floyd Boring told me that, you could say, okay, at the end of the day, what does this mean? This means that they sent reports that were fabricated to the Warren Commission. They blamed it on Kennedy, who was conveniently dead. And it gets straight down to, well, why weren't there agents in the back of the car? Or you can go on, there's little subplots there. Agents in the back of the car stationed, agents in the back of the car supposed to run. It gets even worse, or get better, depending on which way you want to look at it. Here's agents getting on the back of the limousine in Miami. Agents Zaboral and Donald Lawton. And Donald Lawton was stationed at Love Field November 22nd, but wasn't doing anything security-wise. They're about to get in the back of the limousine there.
I think we better conclude now.
Okay. That's not it?
That's it.
If I had more time, but... Can I
Let him go.
Just 5 minutes? Okay. Is that all right? Thank you. Is that all right? Okay. And basically, it's a real crying shame. Then William Manchester picked up the ball, and Jim Bishop picked up the ball. Just basically, laid it all on Kennedy. The bubble top, agents on the limousine, and like I said before, I just, interrupted. I'm sorry about that. Sam Kinney told me, confirmed to me, Emory Roberts, when the first shot sounded, well, let's say you can pretend, okay, Oswald's first shot, and there was no conspiracy, okay? Emory Roberts ordered the men in the fog car not to move, and the reason why that all came about was, in Harrison Livingstone's High Treason, it was written that Emory Roberts ordered the men not to move. I said, well, where's the documentation for this? So I read it to Sam Kinney thinking he's going to refute it, deny it, whatever. He said, exactly right, and I'm involved in that too. He admitted that Emory Roberts did that. He would not give me any kind of valid reason why he did this. First shot sighted, Emory Roberts told William Minchett, "Do you recognize the first shot as a shot?" This is before the headshots, before anything else. There was plenty of time to protect the president. And see, it's scary because it's one thing to do these things, and it's another thing to blame Kennedy after the fact. And William Minchett and Jim Bishop took the ball, and George Michael Evica did a presentation on security stripping. And some of these things might sound like science fiction and conspiratorial on that, but when you realize that they blamed it on Kennedy and they're not true, then it brings us right back down to Dallas. Why weren't these things happening? Why did they have to make up a story about November 18th that Kennedy said these things? Now, the Secret Service did a wonderful job at Love Field. This is like modern day stuff they did here. They did a great job with the Trade Mart, which they never arrived at. They had men screwing everything. I can go on for days about why they should never have been going to the Trade Mart anyway. The early reports were like, it's a bad building, let's go to the women's building. 3 checks of the PRS's files that's for threats. In the city of Dallas, they found out 1 threat. Roy Kellerman to the Warren Commission, Abraham Bolden to me, even said that was totally unusual. And right here, we'll see them in the back of the limousine here. And I think I just need 1 more minute and I'll be done. I just wanted to just get to one more thing here. It's in sequence with this video. Oh, yeah, another huge bone of contention here with research. This has been going on for a couple decades now about the motorcade route, whether it was changed or not. Well, another thing, spoke to Jerry Bain, head of the White House detail, who did not make the Dallas trip. He confirmed to me the motorcade route was changed. Said it to me twice. He didn't know the reasons why because he wasn't there. The House Select Committee asked him off the record in an executive session, why was the motorcade route changed? So they knew to ask him this. Something was amiss that they knew this. And then he said, well, he said to me, well, I know the motorcade route was changed, but why, I don't know. There was alternative routes. Sam Kinney confirmed to me that there were alternate routes. So this big thing about whether they should have went down Maine, Houston, that these are security matters that conspiracy and no conspiracy, Oswald or no Oswald, they're blamed on JFK, and these things found out not to be true. And it really makes you think about, we'll be sitting here right now in this conference or any conference or any of these books, if these men would have did their job. Final thing I want to point out here, this clip is the reason why this is slow-mo. This is ABC footage of leaving Love Field. That's Henry Ribka there on JFK's side, about to do his job. So he was informed of these fraudulent desires. But Emory Roberts raises up, and he's in the follow-up car, and he's going like this to say, hey, no. Don't get on the back of the limousine, no. And Henry Ribka is basically going like, what's the deal, you know? Because Emory Roberts basically told him right there, stand up, like what's going on. And good old Henry Ribka was going back to Love Field and was checking on luggage when President Kennedy was shot. And Henry Ribka's incredulity here continues because you can see him. He does it a few times. Even the regular speed. So I wanted you to see Emory Roberts raises out of his seat and goes like this. He was the commander of the follow car who later ordered the men not to move after the first shot's on. He recognized it as a shot. So
Which guy's Emory Roberts?
I'm sorry. He's sitting right next to the driver of the follow car. And I don't know if you can see him. It's hard to see his top of his head now. That's John Reddy. John, and another thing, to Clint Hill, all this crap about Clint Hill, he's crying about what he could have did. He was assigned to Jackie. It was John Reddy's responsibility to protect President Kennedy, not Clint Hill. He was assigned to Jackie. Clint Hill even did his job, although we can argue about that. But let's say he did his job. What about John Reddy? Where's his tears? Well, Sam Kinney told me he doesn't go to any of the annual Secret Service reunions. He's disappeared off the face of the earth. Never saw him again after 2 weeks in the White House detail after that was all we did. And that's it.
Excellent.
Atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm sorry for taking my time. I mean, you guys can go for longer. I didn't want to hold it.
Now we'll start picking up the cards if there are questions. Before we do that, we have a little time here. I want to ask any member of the panel, if they feel that we cut them out of any deep dedication to any particular phase of their testimony that they want to get up and put on in about a half a minute.
Yeah, I got something.
All right, go ahead.
If anyone knows the actual killer of JFK, come up
Thank you so much. What is this? Yeah, this will be a good section.
Refer to this again. It's hard when you got these kind of time constraints too. You got to kind of put everything in like Evelyn Wood speed reading, but
Come on. Evelyn Wood's talking about this.
okay. Basically, Secret Service was responsible for. Secret Service was responsible for the motorcade's vehicle order too, which was also changed. The limousines, the motorcycles, there was 18 motorcycles allotted Kennedy on all the prior Texas stops, again unique to Dallas. It was changed at the 11th hour by the Secret Service. Allegedly, hey, Kennedy didn't want motorcycles by him because he wanted conversation, but boy, geez, just a few hours before, he didn't mind those motorcycles going right beside him. Ambulance that would have been on standby in case of injury. JFK was gone from the scene a few minutes before the shooting.
How many were there? There weren't 18.
It was 18. It went down to 4, and to make matters worse, that insult to injury, they weren't even right by him. They weren't even right in parallel. And this is all, again, blamed on JFK. And for what it's worth, Sam Kinney and Rufus Youngblood said that there's no truth to that. In fact, Rufus Youngblood threw in an expletive that I can't repeat. Basically, you got a situation to sum up because I'll give somebody else their time. JFK and LBJ were in the same city, same motorcade, and slow-moving open vehicles in close proximity to each other. And this was unique. Winston Lawson told me this, and Abraham Bolden told me this. It's just basically the reason why the president and the vice president travel on different planes. You're never supposed to have them in a compromising situation so close to each other. And again, unique to Dallas. And there's old Lee Harvey Oswald. Just a coincidence, I guess.
I want to ask you,
Sure.
There was a great advertisement way ahead of time of Kennedy's route in Dallas. And when myself and another reporter tried to get the route coming up for Houston and San Antonio, they denied it to us. And why that was, I don't know. But then they invited us to get out of the office for asking the question.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got something on that. I do, seriously. Chief James Rowley told the Warren Commission, only because the Warren Commission asked, and it was all in letters, not testimony, he said that he doesn't know who released the route to the press, and it was not done in Dallas. Well, Bill Moyers, LBJ, went before the House Select Committee, and he admitted it was the agent in charge of the Dallas trip that gave them, and this was all Secret Service again. Kennedy didn't mind the printing of the American, and all this crap about, JFK, rest in peace, all this stuff that they put on him about his marital affair, all this other crap. I mean, they're stripping him of security and to blame him for it too, but no, they asked you succinctly about the motorcade. Yeah, that's exactly it in a nutshell.
Let me point out to you that man, I asked over and over again to get to talk to that agent, and we kept on doing so.
Was that Bill Payne in Austin? It was Bill Payne?
No, it wasn't an agent. It was the man who arranged the advancing of the trip.
Detroit. Ooh, that could have been Marty Underwood.
Bill Moyers came out publicly and said he was the one who gave the okay to release the parade route.
Yeah, but he did it in 1978. He told the House Select Committee this was based on the authority of the agent. This is quote, agent in charge of the Dallas trip. Doesn't name him. However, on an A&E special in 1991, it was like Class of the 20th Century. He named the agent in a different context, Bill Payne. He was the advance agent for Austin. However, to make matters even more convoluted, that's why nothing's black and white in this case. Floyd Boring was technically the agent in charge of the entire Dallas trip. A little known fact. And I spoke to Floyd Boring about this, spoke to Sam Kinney, and again, coincidence rears its ugly head again. The head of the White House detailed Jerry Bain or his immediate assistant, which was Floyd Boring, number 2 man, always accompanied the president.
How did you get these agents to talk? They won't talk to anybody usually.
I'll tell you what, I think it was my age. I mean, I'm 29 now, it was a few years ago, and I think they figured this is some young whippersnapper, this isn't going anywhere. I didn't reveal an axe, I didn't think Oswald did or didn't do it. I asked questions about security, and I think I flattered them too, because I knew a lot about these agents.
All right, now, anybody else with a heart-rending story? All right, we have one question already up here. Mr. Palamara. What did you say? He said we all have.
This next one is Mr. Baumann, the head of the White House Secret Service for 13 years, was fired by Kennedy administration in 1963. He had been Vice President Nixon's personal driver for his last 4 years in that office. Nixon's role in the assassination of JFK is little analyzed despite numerous examples of motive, power, knowledge, and protocols only someone with experience could have. Why? Well, I can tell you one thing about Chief Ballman, he was the chief of the Secret Service, not head of the White House detail. He was fired because one of the things that brought about in Mark North's book is he believed the mafia didn't exist. Went in the Washington Post and even said this along with his buddy Hoover. I think it was the natural progression from Eisenhower to Kennedy, and I think it was time for Huey Ballman to go. But this thing about he had been Vice President Nixon's personal driver for his last 4 years in that office, that was Jack Sherwood. Jack Sherwood, you ever see the famous black and white clips of rocks being thrown at Nixon and Caracas, Venezuela? Well, Jack Sherwood, that was his driver. As far as Nixon's role in the assassination, that's not really my area. I don't know if this was directly specific, because it doesn't say Vince. I don't know if they wants to pick up on Nixon or say anything about it. Oliver Stone's doing it. That's great.
You all are such experts that I hesitate to add anything, but you know that McNamara and everybody, they were frightened to death. They were frightened to death at this time because they didn't know what in the world was happening. They didn't know whether it was a conspiracy against the United States overseas. They didn't know whether it was Russia. They didn't know what it was, and they were so frightened. They closed the Mexican border immediately, and I always thought it was very, very funny that the Mexico was the last country to come and send a representative to Kennedy's funeral.
Okay. This one's for me. It says, where can John Reddy and Emory Roberts be reached today? It's like a three-part thing. First of all, about John Reddy, he was one of a couple agents that I'm pretty sure I reached. I got their answering machine, would never pick up, would never call me back. Not that he's obligated to, obviously, who am I? I'm just a stranger. But I do know one little footnote to him is that, I don't know if you know that book, Mortal Error. The authors of Mortal Error contacted him, and he refused to discuss the matter of that George Hickey shooting the president theory. Emory Roberts can't be reached. He died in the late 60s. And the interesting thing about Emory Roberts is, I don't like to fuel fire speculation, but this is too good to pass up, I have to admit. Marty Banker, former Secret Service agent, in his book, quotes Jim Kalafitis, the agent who protected Jackie in the early 70s in the Greek Isles, said that an agent took his own life in Washington in the late 60s with a handgun. So obviously, I don't have any confirmation that's Emory Roberts. Makes you think that. What personnel records on them asked for review board to release? I know the JFK Library Secret Service records are sealed. They are not eligible for release. There are oral histories which are real watered down. I got more from Jerry Bain on the phone. I gave him this oral history available. Finally, what about the security test cover story to explain Secret Service complicity? Yeah, I tell you what, well, that's exactly, I kind of left it unstated. Kennedy didn't want these things done, and he lied about it, and I just like that. Because time constraints, and also I don't want to get into too much of speculation. You need to put two sides of the coin. It's either they were sinisterly involved in covering it up, and they wanted him dead, or it was part of the security stripping test like George Michael Utica and I have gone into, that they set him up for whatever reason, and in conspiracy, no conspiracy, someone came in there and he had to cover up after the fact because they left Kennedy a sitting duck.
Vince, did any of the agents comment on the fact that Jackie noticed that she was given red roses in Dallas, all the other women yellow roses, all other cities, everybody got yellow roses?
I didn't know. I never broached that one.
That's false record, and it could be released by the board.
They could be released by the board. That would be good if they could. Yeah, George Evica is going to say something about the security stripping test.
In March, I was invited to Boston to testify to the Records Review Board. And I spoke on 5 subjects, and I gave a memo on them. But that was the first public airing of the Bill Moyers connection. And the investigative staff did not know about the very important Bill Moyers relationship to the Austin office and the role that he played in the trip to Texas, etc. Now, afterward, I waited for any possible response, and I received a call on the phone on a Saturday morning. I was still in my robe and slippers, and it was the chief investigator for the Records Review Board. And she said, we want to know everything that you know, because I am running the investigation of the Secret Service and the motorcade and the changes, etc., and we want you to help. So I asked her to call back in 45 minutes, spread about 50 pounds of paper on the kitchen table, got a yellow pad out, made about 30 minutes of notes, and she stayed on the phone for an hour and 10 minutes, writing longhand, and I owe her now a rather long memo giving all the names, etc. I also said that if the staff had not so far got to both the book and the person, that they were missing very important information. Somebody named Vince Palamara.
Wait a minute, come back up here. Tell us, what was the Bill Moyer's participation in?
Much too long to take,
but
but
the fact that he just gave everybody down, then he acted for LBJ on.
apparently Bill Moyers was responsible for getting the motorcade route out. All right? That's the bottom line.
In Austin, or where?
Out of Austin. He had a representative in Dallas. Yes, and I gave him that name and her connections to the group that organized the Civic Council. It's a rather complicated, as you well know. I did an outline of a monograph on this subject. What did it take, 2.5 hours in Dallas in the evening? Something like that. It's a monograph called Dallas Doesn't Love You, and it'll be part of, no, I get nothing out of this because I'm never going to finish that book, I don't think, but it is a part of the Iron Sights. But I urge you, if you don't have the thing that is in print, which is Vince Palamara's book, that you run, not walk, to get that, and then know that the Records Review Board is intensely interested in this area. All right. I argued that Connolly and his people managed the whole operation, and that he unwittingly, in fact, set up JFK in Dallas and in the motorcade. And the chief investigator is taking that with very straightly to whatever conclusion she finds. Thanks very much.
Wait a minute. Why did you say unwittingly?
Because I think that John Connolly was the second intended victim in Dealey Plaza. I think 2 men were intended to die. John Kennedy and John Connolly.
Why Connolly?
Listen, I'm not a member of the panel, and it would take about a half hour to summarize. All right? But please do take a look at my abstract from is it last year? No. It is 2 years ago at ASK that I did it, and I think that's available on tape. Nearly the entire discussion, and I would urge you, not because again I'm going to make anything about it, but it is a very heavily documented piece, which is why the Records Review Board is so interested in it. But do keep an eye out for this kind of thing, and know that with the help of Vince Palamara, we may be getting at where the heart of the ambushing of JFK occurred, in Texas, in Dallas, and in Dealey Plaza. Thanks.
All right, good. Yeah, we have one more question. We've pretty well got along pretty well for time. No, we haven't done it. We'll let you go, sir.